ta'ala does not look at your physical forms nor your wealth. لا إن الله لا ينظر إلى صوركم وأموالكم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not look at your physical forms. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not look at your wealth. So when you raise your hand in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it does not make a difference if you have 10 million pounds in your account or you have nothing in your account. That does not make a difference in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your value, your status, your station in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not increase by your money. Your money may increase, your social standing may increase, but that does not mean that your status before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has increased. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala look at? If it's not your wealth and neither your physical forms, وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرْ إِلَى قُلُوبِكُمْ وَأَعْمَالِكُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at your hearts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at your hearts. وَأَعْمَالِكُمْ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at your actions. So when you make dua, think about the heart, the state of your heart for a moment. Think about your deeds for a moment. So when you're making supplication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, think about the state of your heart. Are you attentive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not? Once the king of the Mughal Empire, Jahangir, rahmatullahi ta'ala, he was traveling once. The king, the Badshah Jahangir, was traveling once, and he came by a masjid, and there was a man standing outside the masjid. And this man outside the masjid was making dua. So he watched him for a short while. And once he had finished with dua, this man turned out to be a blind man. So Jahangir called him, and Badshah Jahangir said to him, "Tell me, what dua do you make in the court of Allah?" He said, "I do dua that my eyesight be returned. That's my dua, that my eyesight be returned." And he says, "How long have you been making this dua?" And he said, "Years. I've been making this dua for years, that my eyesight be returned." After hearing this, the king says, "I'm currently on an expedition. I'm going to come back this very same route. And if I come back, when I come back, if your eyesight has not been returned, I will execute you. If I come back and on the route I find you, and I'm going to look for you, and if your eyesight has not returned, I will execute you." So now this man is shocked. So the king leaves on the expedition. After he fulfills whatever he needed to, he returns. Upon his return, he finds the same route back. He finds that same masjid. And he looks for the man. And he eventually finds the man. And what happens? The man's eyesight had returned. The man's eyesight had returned. So then Jahangir called him and he said to him, "When you were making dua first, you were not attentive. When I said I'm going to execute you, you knew that if your eyesight does not return, you're going to lose your life. Therefore, you became attentive in your dua. You started, attentive means you give attention. You started to give attention in your dua. You were not distracted. You were focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then you asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with full attention, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave your eyesight back." That's the first adab of dua. Remove other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from your heart and be direct to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another adab that he mentions, your body, your clothes, and the place that you're making the dua, these three places must be clean. Your body must be clean. Your clothes must be clean. And the place where you are standing must also be clean. We're not speaking about a special place. We're speaking about a normal place, but it needs to be clean. So your body should be clean. We should be aware of how we are cleaning ourselves. If you are doing ghusl properly, you're doing wudu properly, your body is clean. Also your clothes. You need to be aware of the state of your clothes. If your clothes are clean or not. Sometimes I'll ask a brother, come inside to the masjid. What does he say? "Oh, my clothes are clean." Why where do you need clothes for? Well, you change your clothes then. And what that means is my clothes are impure. I have impurity in my clothes. But why are you wearing such impure clothes? Remember a point. If you have soil or oil or something like this on your clothes, that doesn't mean your clothes are impure. That does not mean your clothes are impure. Impurity or physical impurities have left your body. Blood, urine, feces, this is impurity. So if sometimes I hear brothers saying, I've got mud on my clothes, this is not impurity. So your body needs to be free of impurity. Your clothes need to be free of impurity. And the place you're making dua should also be free of impurity. Another adab of making dua. Before making dua, try to perform a good deed. Before you make a dua, try to perform some deed. It does not have to be a major deed, it can be a small deed. But try to do some good deed in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before you make that dua. That deed might be a small sadaqah that you've made. Might make a sadaqah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Mujadala, verse 12 says, قَدِّمُوا بَيْنَ يَدَيْ نَجْوَاكُمْ صَدَقًا. That the meaning of this verse is before your intimate conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, precede this with some sadaqah. Precede your intimate conversation. Precede your dua and supplication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, precede it, bring before it some sadaqah. So from the adab of dua is that you perform a good deed before that dua. Then you enter Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's court. That good deed was you knocking on that door. You're knocking on the divine door by performing this good deed. So this is from the adab of dua. Before you make your dua, do a good deed. That might be giving sadaqah, that might be reading nafal. If it's not makruh time, then you should pray two nafal. If it's not the time within which voluntary prayer is disliked, then you should perform 2 units of voluntary prayer before your dua, and then make your dua. This is from the etiquette of dua. Now you're thinking, which times are the makruh times and disliked times? If you go into that, that's going to be very long. But briefly, the 3 times where fard prayers are disliked are the same 3 times. So sunrise 20 minutes after, sunset 20 minutes before, and the dahwa kubra, which in our calendars is called zawal time. These are 3 times within which prayer is disliked. So avoid making fard or nafal within this time. There are others as well. You can check Bahari Sharif for that. So that's from the adab of making dua. Another adab of making dua, another etiquette of making dua. If you have anyone's rights over you, fulfill their rights before you make your dua. If you have anyone's rights over you, you fulfill their rights before you make your dua. If they are asking you to fulfill their rights, sometimes there is, for example, you may have taken a goodwill loan from a friend and they're not asking you for it back. So at that point it's not necessary. But if they're asking you for the money back, then you should be given to them and then you should make dua. An add-on to this. If you have broken the rights of people, you have hurt the feelings of fellow Muslim brothers and sisters, from the etiquettes of dua is that you ask their forgiveness first before you make dua. Before you make dua. It's from the etiquettes of making dua. Imam Ahmad Raza Khan rahmatullahi ta'ala, he says, to make dua whilst you owe so many people, maybe money, land, etc., to make dua in this state is like entering the court of a king and asking the king for something. And whilst you're asking the king for something, there are people all around you shouting out saying, he owes me this, he owes me this, he owes me this. Do you think the king is going to give you anything? king will say, go back and give everybody what you owe them, then come to me. That's from the etiquettes of dua. Sometimes people complain, dua qabul anyway.